putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Al Sharpton's brother was arrested. I forgot Al Sharpton had a brother. I know he got a young girlfriend. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, KJRadio.com. Multiple things I want to talk about this segment, but I want to begin with Al Sharpton's brother. He goes out. They march for, the March for Guns. March for Lives is what they call it. Any black person who is marching on behalf of guns, gun control freaks, and calls it the March for Lives should be imprisoned. Because while they were marching against gun violence in these schools, let me tell you something. More blacks were being killed in abortion clinics in the time that it did that march than will be killed in Chicago over the weekend. And that's a pretty big number. And the impetus of this is what gets me. This is what really hacks me off about how the left, it can get blacks, either frothing at the mouth like in the event of a cop shooting or something that they want, to try to gain control over. They say, hey, pay some brothers and sisters off and they'll come do it. And we do. We come out there, so tell me what am I supposed to say and where do I pick up my signs? And they go out there and say whatever these crazy leftist white bourgeois cocktail sippers like Soros and others tell them to say. Not even thinking about the eggs that are being cracked on in the black neighborhoods. Meaning, we're not making omelets here, folks. We're killing babies. We're killing society. We're killing the culture, black culture. They don't care. They couldn't care less. So they go out there marching with this stuff. They got a Heil Hitler, Sig Heil Hogg, David Hogg or whatever his name is. This kid, let's just face it, be honest. Think about this. This is the kid at your school who you knew narked on everybody, right? Look at the kid. I was talking about this the other day. This is the kid who you is not to be trusted. I'm just telling you, not to stereotype, but look at how he looks and tell me that that's a guy you would trust and want to do anything with you. He is the Anthony Weiner up-and-comer guy. This is a kid who's building his reputation right now so he can become a, quote, leader in the liberal progressive agenda going forward. He's already building his resume. You know it and I know it. He's a guy you should never put your trust in. And the media is just touting him. And as I said, he's building his resume. He will be the belle of ball. This kid will be traveling the world, spokesperson for progressivism. He's already laid out a strategy that will make him filthy rich. He will enter politics and be one of the most dangerous people you've ever met unless somebody stops him in his tracks right now. I'm telling you, God is my witness. We don't have to worry about it, but your kids and your grandkids are going to have to worry about him. He's going to be a Bill Clinton, an Anthony Weiner, a Barack Obama, and Adam Schiff all rolled into one glorious progressive package. You bet, take my word for it. And he's out there talking about getting guns, looking like a little Adolf Hitler. Anyway, back to Sharpton. So Sharpton's brother, he's protesting anti-guns, because he's been paid. Somebody paid the National Action Network of Al Sharpton and said, come out and get your brother and get your sisters and your cousins and your girlfriend and all that, and I'll pay you. And Sharpton obliged. Anyway, March 25th, 10:50 p.m., Dothan police officers responded to a suspicious vehicle near an AME church. While they were in front of the area, they discovered a wrecked vehicle at the intersection of Lake Street and Allen Road. One of those vehicles was occupied by Ms. Brunia Jennings, 23, of Dothan. Ms. Jennings was pronounced dead at the scene, gunshot wound. Several people at the scene were detained, taken to the Dothan Police Department for interviews. After interviews were completed, Jamie Emmanuel Towns, 26, of St. Andrews, Dothan, Alabama, was arrested for capital murder. No bond was issued. Also arrested was Pastor Kenneth Sharpton Glasgow, 52, of West Powell Street, Dothan, Alabama. No bond issued. Now, I don't know what he had to do with it, but he's under arrest for this murder of this young girl. And I don't know. I didn't read any more of the story, but I just look at the irony of it all. That's what caught my eye, is the irony of a man who's protesting gun violence and then is now tied to the death of somebody by way of anybody? Yeah, gun violence. People are amazing. So Donald Trump comes out and he says, look, your Second Amendment rights are protected. And, I'll be honest with you. Every time we bring this up, what we should be saying every time one of these people discusses I call them the gun control freaks and nuts. Every time one of them brings something up, you say, let me just explain something to you. This ownership of a gun is not a government right. It is a God-given right, a right of every man to protect himself with whatever implement is best available. If you won't sell me a gun, I'll make me a gun. If you won't sell me a bullet, I'll make me a bullet. But I'm going to own a gun, and I'm going to own the apparatus that makes the gun worth having, because if you don't have bullets, it's a big old metal rock, So but I'm going to have the ability to protect myself, and it has nothing to do with you, government. Nothing. Government, it's funny how, what are you talking about? This is your right, to tell me how I can protect myself. It's citizens who've done this all over the world, as far as I'm concerned, are crazy. There is no way you're going to limit my ability to protect myself from you or anybody else. And anybody that's doing that is saying, I want to be able to maintain control of you. I want to be able to have guns with my military and my police, and you will have nothing. No. What you're telling me is I have to believe that the government is completely benevolent. It's never going to do anything wrong. And what? I disregard history in that regard? Governments all over this world are corrupt and evil apparatus. And that's what they do. They look for ways to essentially bend over, whatever you want to call it, make the citizens of their country obey. And there is no more government that has become more egregious in doing that than the United States government. I'm telling you, they've gotten it to a science. What other countries have had to kill millions of people to get to, our government has cajoled us into doing and finagled us into doing. We pay crazy amounts, and don't misunderstand me. I know other countries pay higher taxes, but they're idiots. They, well, we give you free healthcare, we give you free this. To be the freest country, one of the most free countries in the world, they have extorted us beyond recognition. To the point now to where if they say, well, we don't give you free health care, you will be forced to buy your health care. And the level of restrictions on you, the level of taxation, quite frankly, rivals other countries. And they do it in a sneaky way. And we've been fortunate to fight against, climate change. And I will talk more about that in a bit, because I've got some results on the climate accords that everybody wanted us to be a part of. So Donald Trump says, I'm going to protect your guns, which congratulations, Donald Trump, for telling us you're going to protect what's already been protected. But I'm going to tell you, the millions of gun owners in America will not, at least this generation of them, will not ever give up their guns. Now, what's going to happen down the road? The programming, if you will, of kids to say guns are bad. Ooh, they're terrible. They're terrible. They don't ever want your kid to touch a gun. The only thing they want your kid to do is see guns in Hollywood and pretend, or see them in video games and pretend that they don't exist. Like to give you the fantasy world of being the villain in, one of these, what do they call it? What's this game there all these kids play? Grand Theft Auto, GTA. They want your kids to have the sensation, but never having the feeling of that power and understanding the responsibility of responsible gun ownership, because that would make those kids really understand what it was all about. They don't want people to go out into the country. Look, I was went with some family to the Grand Canyon, and I'm just looking at nature, and went up through Sedona. It's beautiful, and I'm telling people, I'm thinking to myself about this in my head. I'm saying in my head, I grew up in the country, and I was imagining myself rock climbing in some of those hills and just doing what I do. And I remember thinking to myself, every kid should have to experience this. I believe every kid should have to learn about firearms, learn about firearm safety, learn about hunting, learn about growing up in the wild and why a firearm was important, not only for your own safety, but also to, get food and things like this. There's a reason that these leftists don't want kids to experience that, because it is so mind-blowing and so mind-opening that they would never go back to that concept of city living. There would always be this yearning now, a yin and the yang, if you will, of life. And they don't want them to experience that, in my opinion.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.